What are some taboo conversations for a date, particularly for a first date? These aren't necessarily going to be the ones you would expect, like religion and politics, although I would say they are overall taboo if you're lining up a date with somebody who has an opposing view as you in either one of those. Which, to be honest, depending on how central those belief systems are to you, I think should dictate how soon those conversations come up. I think to have heavy opinions in either one of those requires you to find somebody that has a very consistent worldview as you. So I think that would probably be the number one thing. Is if that's in place, then bringing up those conversations can be a very delightful experience. But I will say, maybe you don't know, or maybe the conversation hasn't come up, or maybe it wasn't obvious on their dating app. It's not, I would say, particularly, it's just not something to even bring up in casual texting pre-first date. So if you're on the date and those things are important to you to where you wouldn't see yourself happy, let's say you are a conservative man and you would not be happy with a liberal-leaning woman, I think that's preferably something that should be brought up before the date. Because if that's a no-go, then you are literally wasting your time and her time. And vice versa, obviously. And you can interchange those two systems. If it's not primary to you, if it's not a make it or break it, if you're not heavy right or left, or you're maybe, let's say you're a Christian, but it's not something that drives every decision that you're going to make, then I think figuring out a way how to navigate those conversations can be very casual and can be enjoyable to some degree. There are nuanced ways you can do it. That'll be a subject for another video. But here, the main ones that I can think of when it comes to taboo that typically change the dynamic of particularly a first date are going to be things like a prolonged conversation about children typically changes the dynamics. It almost changes it from a romantic date, although everybody can be passionate about kids. I'm definitely not saying don't bring up kids, don't talk about kids, but if you park there for too long, it definitely changes the dynamic, the feel of the overall date from one of two adults interested in a relationship to two parents meeting on break. So I would say bring it up, have those talks, find out about how they parent a little bit, or if they've got grown kids. Obviously, those are conversations that need to happen. There's no hard science as to when you want to move the conversation over. I would just encourage you not to park there for too long, either one of you. Another taboo one, obviously, is exes. It's not something not to bring up, even, as you're older. Those are going to be things in your past. Staying there too long gets awkward very quick. So just answer some, hit points and then move on to something else about the individual. So kids, bring up, talk about, just don't park there for too long. Exes is another one. Finances typically can be awkward. Typically, whoever is bringing it up, it's just one of those things that I've noticed changes the dynamic a little bit of the date, particularly on a first date. So those are the things that I would say navigate around, not entirely avoid, but just as you do them well. There's, again, the politics and the religion thing, that's always something to handle cautiously. But if it's important to you, I think you need to try to pre-qualify dates that line up with either your political worldview or your religious worldview before you go on the date. If it's a primary decision-making part of your life, it definitely needs to be brought up sooner than later. Other than that, I think, most other things are important and are worth having open discussions about. And very freeing conversations about. So I would encourage you to just take those conversations, take them with a grain of salt, take them quickly, navigate through them, and enjoy the rest of your day. And ask more particular questions about the individual. And that usually goes a lot further than all the other baggage around them. So those are my taboos that I think you need to be cautious of and be aware of how they can change the dynamic if you park too long at them. So again, I'm here if you have questions, if you're struggling through how to get into the dating market, how to get second dates, how to get first dates, how dating apps should work. There is a link in the description that I just encourage you to click on. Every Wednesday, I have 15-minute free consulting calls, and I would love to jump in with you and talk about how I can help. Take care.